I've loved Silent Hill games for years. I grew up with Resident Evil, however later in life I found Silent Hill and I loved it, even a little more than Resident Evil. It was just scarier to me. In the time I really started to find myself and get into horror as a kid, Resident Evil 4 came out. And as we all know, right after in Resident Evil 5, well... So for years, I missed that somewhat grounded feeling until I found the Silent Hill HD collection. I loved Silent Hill for what it was, but the technical performance of the HD collection gave me a headache. Like, actually, I couldn't play it for more than a half hour without my head pounding. I swear I'm not just jumping on a bandwagon. $500 later, including buying Silent Hill 4 twice, I had all the games on PC. Well, almost all. Of course, I didn't have one. I played through 2, bought a PS3, played through 1, played through 3, then played through 4, and I loved every moment of it. Well, that's a lie. OG Silent Hill had the sewers. I looked into the lore, I looked into the history, enough to be able to talk to my friends for hours about it, which my ADHD ass absolutely did. All of this culminated in me becoming a meme that I would see later. A Silent Hill girl. I'm telling you all of this to kind of show that I do understand the source material. When Silent Hill 2 Remake was announced, I was so excited. And the release for me, well, then that was it. Other than the short message, which is an underrated gem in itself, that was all the Silent Hill I thought about. I suppose the announcement of the Silent Hill 2 Remake made me forget everything else, including the announcement of Silent Hill F. Then the marketing cycle started with F, and I was just all in. Silent Hill F follows Hinako. After storming out while arguing with her father, she makes her way into town. There, we meet Sakuko, Rinko, and Shu. All are her friends, however they keep calling her traitor. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the fog. Shortly after, Sakuko is covered with a red plant, dying in the process. After escaping from the fog, we make our way back to Sakuko, laying her to rest inside of the general store that she was killed outside of.
Since you were little, you dreamed of a different life. A family that owned a candy store instead of some stuffy old shrine. And here, it's all yours. As much candy as you could ever want. Sweet dreams, Sakuko.
Shortly after, Hinako passes out. She wakes up in the other world, a Japanese temple where she meets the Fox Mask. He leads her through the other world, despite her being told by a doll from her childhood not to trust him. After being knocked out by a mysterious being in the other world, Hinako wakes up back in the real world, being held by Shu. Following him, we try to find Rinko, concluding she most likely went back to her house. After fighting our way through the town, we arrive at Rinko's house, where we learn we can't leave town. This is also where she pushes us down the stairs, knocking us out. In the other world, after exploring for a moment, we encounter Sakuko, or a representation of her. After being attacked, we fight her, ultimately defeating her and having to pure ourselves with water that begins burning Hinako before she passes out. After waking up in Rinko's house, we begin heading to Shu's. Learning the town is crawling with monsters, we take the long way around, heading to the middle school. Here we encounter a shadow that seems to be Hinako's sister, Junko. After falling asleep at the desk, we wake up in the other world once again. This time it's divided into 3 sections, each being devoted to one of her friends where we kill them off one by one, leaving them behind.
Don't leave me!
Waking up in the classroom, Rinko and Shu have gone ahead. As we try to catch up to them, we are once again chased by the fog monster. Arriving at Shu's house, we learn that the red and white pills we've seen everywhere is made by Shu himself from the flowers growing behind his house. After heading inside, the fog monster grabs Hinako, causing her to pass out. Back in the other world, we ready ourselves for a ceremony. During this, Hinako cuts off her arm, replacing it with the fox's arm. Her back is branded, and the upper half of her face is removed, a fox mask being grafted on. We then move forward with Fox Mask, where we fight a monster that sounds like Rinko before defeating her.
Today is such a happy, perfect day. So happy.
Rinko?
Because today, Hinako will die and be gone for God!
Rinko! I never wanted to see you like this, Rinko. But I'm very happy that in the end, we finally got to tell each other how we truly feel. Shimizu Hinako means nothing to you.
After waking up at Shu's house,
Hinako, are you ready? Will you kill, or will you be killed?
Junko?
Choose death, Hinako.
do this? Is everyone a killer? Did you kill too?
Of course. I killed everyone. Father, mother, even you, my precious little sister. I killed my friends as well. Every one of them.
I don't want to die.
You know how dreadful it sounds to hear you say that today, don't you?
Of course.
I've already told you countless times. This will be the last time I repeat myself. You must decide your future. Today, however, such a decision will come at a great price. Though that cost is only if you survive. If you calmly accept your demise, you won't have to pay the price. Your sister only wants for you to be happy.
Junko!
Hinako heads home, learning it's been transformed into a labyrinth. After fighting monsters that represent her parents, we head outside, seeing the fog monster kill Hinako's parents. After passing out, we awake once more in the other world, where after making our way through a mural, Hinako exchanges rings with the fox mask. Coming to in the real world once more, we chase after the fog monster, catching up to it before Junko orders it to kill Hinako, where it snaps her neck, saying it's for her own good. In the other world, we encounter the fox mask once more, where the same flowers that killed Sakuko overtakes us, turning us into the fog monster we've been chasing. We fade back into reality, Junko telling us to say our farewells as we morph back into Hinako, this time with her fox arm. Fighting our way back home, the fog monster once again kills Hinako's parents. Bringing us to the other world one more time. Hinako fights her way to the fog monster, defeating it. As reality crumbles around us, we learn that this all took place at a wedding, Hinako killing all the guests. That part, however, will change depending on the ending you get, so let's go over the true ending. We find out the fox mask is Kotoyuki, a boy who became obsessed with Hinako. Later in life, an arranged marriage with him is put into place. His family, being rich and powerful, will allow Hinako's father to pay off a debt he has due to a friend taking his money when they were younger. The events had been Hinako's internal struggle with not wanting the arranged marriage. Does she do it for the sake of her family? Does she listen to her sister? At the end, Hinako decides that is her decision to make, and her only goal in life is to live it to its fullest. The tone, the characters, the setting, the devotion to Silent Hill's atmosphere, the multiple endings, all of it showed a pure love to the series. I was a bit iffy not being set in the town of Silent Hill, but once I saw the claustrophobic streets of Ebisagelka, I was assured they knew exactly where to take the series. For some reason, a lot of the Silent Hill community is obsessed with pretty much remaking Silent Hill 2, but also getting really annoyed when someone just remakes Silent Hill 2. And while Silent Hill 2 is definitely peak survival horror, pretty much making the same game with slightly different characters would be boring. Even Team Silent knew that with Silent Hill 3 and 4. In Silent Hill 3, which is my second favorite Silent Hill game by the way, most of the game contrasts Silent Hill 2. A lot of Silent Hill 2 is spent in more wide open areas, taking breaks to bring you into the corridors of the apartments, the hospital, the prison, and the final hotel. Silent Hill 3, however, is mostly corridors, only taking breaks to provide you with wide open areas, while changing up the entire tone of the game. While this may seem trivial, it's essential to realize that even changes as little as that contribute significantly to the enjoyment of a sequel. A good sequel should build upon aspects of a series, whether it be gameplay, tone, characters. I want to take a moment to go over iterative versus innovative sequels. When I say innovative, I don't mean changing the gaming industry or a genre, I mean innovative for the series. Resident Evil 7, Oblivion, Fallout 3, Sonic Adventure 2, all examples of innovative sequels. They built upon the themes and sometimes gameplay and characters, but all huge departures and, in my opinion, steps forward for their respective franchises. On the other hand, you have games like Resident Evil 2, Fallout New Vegas, Skyrim, Silent Hill 3, iterative sequels. They keep a majority of the gameplay and themes, but perfect them, changing them where needed. Silent Hill has a weird history with iteration versus innovation. Silent Hill 2 was innovative. Silent Hill 3 was more of an iterative game. Silent Hill 4 was a weird mix between the two, and the rest of the games were either decent and iterative, like Silent Hill Origins, or tried to be innovative and failed. The only exception to these is the canceled Silent Hills, which definitely was going to be innovation, and with how dire the series was, it needed innovation. Silent Hill 2 Remake was iterative in my opinion, simply bringing Silent Hill 2's gameplay up to modern standards, but Silent Hill F is innovation at its finest. It takes core gameplay mechanics and changes them up just enough to keep the series' identity, but not so much to feel like a completely different game. Let's take some time to break down each component of Silent Hill F to explore why it makes such a good Silent Hill game. All of the Silent Hill staples in gameplay are here. The puzzles, just as cryptic as the old games. The tension, just as palpable as the old games. The combat is different, I won't deny that for a second. However, no, it's not Silent Souls or Dark Hill like everyone tries to have you believe. In a broad sense, it's adapted survival horror to a melee-oriented game, which makes sense. It hadn't really been done much. I mean, you had the Condemned series, but that was more action horror. In Silent Hill, you play Hinako, a teenager. She's not gonna run around brandishing semi-automatic weapons. After all, the game takes place in fictional Japan, not America. Your weapons, they can break. However, that's a design choice to allow there to be repair kits, essentially giving you ammo. Stamina is just an extension of that as well. Stamina is your magazine, durability your reserve ammo. Dodging is implemented in the place of a quick turn, giving you some type of mobility, especially since you can't do the common classic survival horror method of shoot from a distance, quick turn, run, quick turn, then repeat. Speaking of combat, let's talk about builds. I know that's a weird term to hear in a Silent Hill game, and I agree, but the Omamoris are a game changer. In case you don't know, Omamoris are add-ons that give you perks. More stamina, more sanity, weapons degrading slower, you know the deal. However, they're much more than just perks. They're a way to shape your experience on a scale of survival horror to action horror. Want to avoid stamina management? Equip the butterfly. Want to avoid weapon degradation for the most part? Equip the otter. Need a 13th reason? Equip the daisy. It allows you to fine-tune the game to the experience you want. I've seen builds that make the game feel like Bloodborne, focusing around frantic but well-timed dodges. On the contrary, I've seen builds that bring combat to a halt, making you choose your shots, lest you be laid in a gory heap on the ground. I've seen builds that trivialize combat, allowing you to just enjoy the story or just barely make it through Lost in the Fog difficulty. The game gives you the freedom to change how it plays, and people are mad about that. Another thing people are mad about is the setting. Of course, Ebisugoka, atmosphere-wise, embodies Silent Hill. However, the argument that since it doesn't take place there, so it's not a Silent Hill game, is completely ignorant. If you don't know what Silent Hill is, just say so. Each game follows a theme. Silent Hill 2, it's the truth. James is dealing with the truth of what happened to Mary. Angela is dealing with the truth of what happened with her father. And Eddie is dealing with the truth that he's a repulsive and unforgivable human being. Silent Hill 3, it's the past. Cheryl is dealing with her past, what that's entailed for her all of her life. In a more modern example, Short Message's theme is the guilt. Anita is dealing with the guilt that she believes she's the one responsible for Maya's death. Silent Hill might have started strictly as a place, however, over time, and a long time ago in fact, Silent Hill morphed into something much more. A state of mind, almost a purgatory to deal with one of the before-mentioned themes. And we have evidence to support this. In Silent Hill 2, you find a note entitled The Doctor's Journal that says, "The potential for this illness exists in all people, and under the right circumstances, any man or woman would be driven, like him, to the other side. The other side, perhaps, may not be the best way to phrase it. After all, there is no wall between here and there. It lies on the borders where reality and unreality intersect. It is a place both close and distant. Some say it isn't even an illness. I cannot agree with them. I'm a doctor, not a philosopher or even a psychiatrist. But sometimes I have to ask myself this question. It's true that to us his imaginings are nothing but inventions of a busy mind, but to him there simply is no other reality. Furthermore, he is happy there. So why, I must ask myself, why in the name of healing him must we drag him painfully into the world of our own reality?" Short Message only supported that with a note that stated, "These trying times has also given a rise to a strange phenomenon in many areas. Those affected suddenly claim to see fog even on fair weather days and lose consciousness shortly after. This has come to be known as the Silent Hill phenomenon, named after a similar event that occurred in an eponymous US town." If Silent Hill, the town, was the cause of all of these hallucinations, then why would a doctor back in Silent Hill 2 allude to it being an illness? And why would Short Message allude to it also being an illness where people pass out? It just doesn't make sense. It falls apart. It's an illness generated by the mind that causes people to deal with one of those themes. And Silent Hill F's theme is twofold. On a broad scale, it's about feminism, Hinako's right to choose who she marries. However, there's a more specific theme, individuality. Hinako's struggling with marriage not just because it's her right to choose who she marries, but her own self-identity, wanting to be her own person, not just a pawn to her family or turning out like her mother. You see this in the true ending, where it's very clear that marriage isn't the biggest thing that bothered her, as she may very well marry Kotoyoki, but she wants to decide that on her terms, in her own time. That's her Silent Hill. Since that's her Silent Hill, her other world looks different. While most other protagonists, or antagonists depending on the game, husband killer, we play as are atoning for their sins of the past, Hinako is there as more of a tortured mind trying to figure things out. With 1960s Japan's pressure of women being beautiful, her Silent Hill is just that, beautiful. The only exception is her own home's other world, which makes sense because her home life is more troubled. As with any Silent Hill game, you call into question what's real and what's not. And while by the end of it you learn none of it is, you wonder what's meant to be there and what Hinako is bringing in. While Silent Hill F does explain things more straightforward than old Silent Hill games, and sometimes explains a bit too much in my opinion, connecting the dots rather than letting the player do it, that's my only issue with Silent Hill F for the most part. It explains too much to the player rather than having them connect the dots. However, in the defense of Silent Hill F, there's a section of players and reviewers who would count it as a negative if the game had you put those things together yourself, saying that the story is disjointed and confusing. Because of that, they chose the safer route, so that I understand from a business standpoint. Mainstream horror has shifted to telling a more complete story rather than an ambiguous one because we crave that satisfying conclusion. Overall, survival horror has shifted. It's moved from more confusing and ambiguous stories to explaining most things and allowing people who dig into the lore to gain additional knowledge, rather than having to dig in to gain a full understanding of the base story like older games. However, what hasn't shifted is the tension that survival horror games can bring. And when you're forced to move within striking distance in a hallway where you have little weapon durability and you're one hit away from death, that tension is preserved. From the story, to the gameplay, to the environment, to the amazing music where they brought Mr. Yamaoka himself to help on, Silent Hill F is a wonderful extension to the Silent Hill universe, providing a wonderful roadmap, despite a vocal minority of people that say, for how to adjust the Silent Hill formula, but still make it feel like not only an amazing survival horror game, but a wonderful Silent Hill game.